All right, hello and welcome back to another tutorial in Maya. This one's going to be cool because we're going to take a look at how to assign, fur to a Nurbs sphere. There's nothing complicated going on here, and it deals with just a Nurbs sphere, just the simplest of all things, a Nurbs sphere. Now, when you're working with fur, polygons, and Nurbs patches and things like that can have a couple of different problems that we're going to address later. So this tutorial will just sort of get you started with, attaching a fur description to a Nurbs sphere. But in this case, we're going to be using some ramp textures in order to get the shape of the hair that we want from the get-go. All right, so it's pretty simple. We're just going to create a simple Nurbs sphere, and as you can see here, I have 3 different fur descriptions attached to this sphere. And if you're in your rendering menu set, make sure you're in your rendering menu set. And we're going to be using just a normal Maya software render. You can use Mental Ray as well if you want, but you're going to have to set a few more parameters to make it look really good. So I'm just going to stay with the default Maya software and the default light. Everything's at default. And you'll notice that here we have the different, corresponding fur descriptions that are on here. And if you look up here in the fur section and come down to attach fur description, well, you can see where I have 3 different fur descriptions attached to this Nurbs sphere. So that's cool. I could make a new one if I want, or I have different choices now where I can choose each one of these. But just sort of be aware that we need to know how many fur descriptions are, because when we start to change the attributes here, we're going to sort of have to be aware that we're choosing the right fur description when we come down and paint fur attributes, because we're going to be changing things through the paint for your attributes. So anyway, just something to be aware of, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to get to it, but right now it is time for a little note about Lester. Go to his blog and check out the Maya tutorials, After Effects, Cinema 4D, Blender, Green Soda. He's got a lot of stuff there for your brain, so great effort by Lester as always, so go check him out. Okay, lesterbanks.com. There it is. Now, let's look at just sort of starting from scratch and getting our various properties for this and assigning them a ramp so that we can control what shape this fur is in. So I think what we'll do at the moment is just come in and I'll just do a new scene. Yeah, I don't need to save that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my render view. And let's just create our Nurbs sphere. So just grab on there. I think I'll go into my shaded mode. And make sure that your texturing is on right here. Because a lot of times you might not see, you might not see something because we need that texturing. And also, if you come over into your shading, and make sure you got hardware texturing on. Sometimes that makes a difference. It's good to kind of have it on. Doesn't hurt in this case. So anyway, there it is. Okay, well, let's choose our sphere. I think what I'll do is just quickly center it out. I'll just choose my channel there and go 0 and 0. And there it is. It's zeroed out. Now, what we want to do, as long as the sphere is activated right now, come up into the fur and attach a fur description. And if you just click on new, by default, boom, you'll get your hair. There it is, or fur in this case. I mean, we're going to be kind of using it like hair. And hair is generally, or if you're using fur for hair, generally you want to stay with about 2-inch length, maybe 3-inch or 4-inch, I don't know. In this case, we'll kind of go extreme just for the fun of it, but there it is. Okay, well, you'll notice that if you come back over into your tab section here, and let's look at that, we've got the Nurbs sphere, we've got this sphere, we've got the Make Nurbs sphere right here, and we got our fur description. So, essentially we got everything going on there that we need to know about, and I think I'll just choose this fur description for 1. And I'll bring the length out. That's usually something I like to start with first, is length. So we'll just bring the length out a little bit. And let's say, for example, I want to do like a mohawk, and that's kind of like what this is right here. The blue. We'll make a mohawk, okay? So the first thing, all you have to do is come over into the outliner. But we have to look at what attribute we're working with here. Because we want to reduce the amount of hair on here or fur, we want to be working with the baldness attribute. And the baldness attribute in particular. So now that I've set the hair to this length, if you come over into your baldness and do a right click and come down and create new texture, we'll go ahead and do that. And it'll give you your render node here. What we want to do is create a 2D texture, and we want to do a ramp, okay? And I'm going to click the ramp. And right now, everything disappears. If you're doing this in this order, everything should disappear. And we don't really want to use the colors on this ramp. So I'm going to set the bottom one to black, pure black. So click on there and set that to black. Click on your one right here, and we'll set that one to white. Yeah, there it is, white. And let's just get rid of this middle node. And you should have something that looks like that. And we don't really want that. What we want is more like a none on interpolation. And when you do that, you'll notice that the smoothness from the black to the white goes away. And now we just have a stark, black and white type of ramp. All right? So that's cool. That's what we want. And now that we're done with that, what we can do is we can take that ramp and we can assign it to this sphere, okay? Or to this fur description. So really, if you come over into your hypershade now, and you'll notice that the materials that you've created, there's the ramp. And what we need to do is we have to assign this ramp now to a surface. So I'm just going to choose a normal Maya Lambert. All right, like that. And what I want to do is I want to click on this ramp. We want to make sure we take this ramp, click on it, middle mouse button, drag and drop it onto the color, okay, of that Lambert. And now we have a ramp assigned to that Lambert. Now, all we have to do is just take this sphere, and I'm going to right click, come down, assign existing material, go to Lambert 2. All right. Well, there it is, but we don't really see anything yet, okay? What we need to do is we need to bake that attribute for this fur description. So first, before I do that, I might want to name it. We'll call this the mohawk. And it is affecting the baldness. And I think I might want to bring my map width up to something more like 512. That's sort of a good default. I mean, you can go higher. It just will cost you more in rendering time, the larger you make your width and your height. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit bake. And as you can see, when I hit bake, it baked that on. And in this case, I don't really like what I'm seeing there because I want it to be just more like a sliver. So, essentially I baked that. Any property that you see on here, because of the ramp, and here was my ramp right here, it was kind of half and half. Well, you can see where the white represents what, stayed, which was the fur, or the hair in this case, and the black, everything is bald. All right? But let's say I want to edit this a little bit. Let's say that I want to take this ramp and move it more like that. I'm going to come around here to the back side, actually. I'm going to stand here. Press Command on your keyboard. Sometimes, when you're doing this, you'll be wanting to, sort of edit. You don't want to be going up here and choosing your camera tools. You'll just want to be using your mouse tools. So in this case, I'm on a Mac, so I hit Command and press down on my left mouse button, and then I can move around. In this case, though, I think what I'll do is we'll bake this ramp again and see what happens. So go to your choose tool and make sure you can kind of click and select, your actual description, your mohawk. And I'm going to say bake again because you'll see where this is black right now, but I don't want a hair to appear there, and it is. So if I hit bake, technically it should go away. And this is basically the process of editing, a fur description. So we're working with baldness right now. So I'm going to hit Command and left mouse click and sort of move around this object a little bit. And that looks pretty good. But let's say I want to adjust it even more, and I want to kind of make a smaller wedge. All right, so that's cool. All I have to do is come back up and edit this fur description. So I'm going to go onto there and click on my ramp. Okay, and I clicked on my ramp to activate it from the hypershade right here. So I just clicked on the ramp there, and I'm going to move that over, and I'll try moving this just a little bit more like that. Okay, so that's where I want my hair to be. All right, so once again, select your fur description, come over, make sure you're on your baldness attribute, and hit bake. And that just kind of revised your fur description map, so to speak. So there it is. Okay, well, that's a mohawk, and that's cool. I can live with that. Let's give it a little bit more length for the moment. I'll bring it up a little bit. And let's say maybe, you can mess around with just about any of these properties, inclination, roll. I think what I'll do is just give it a little roll downward like that. And, you can switch the polarity around a little bit on the polar ends, up or down, and, mess around with all that stuff. So if I were to do a quick render right now, there's what I had before. I'll just do a quick render, and it doesn't look very good. You'll notice that it switched to mental ray because that's usually my default, renderer when I start up a new project. So I'll just go to Maya software, do another render. It looks a little cleaner, but you'll notice that it has sort of, some patches in there, and it's not real full. So the first thing you might want to do is look at your density. The default density is set at 1,000, and I might want to set mine up, add another 0 in there, and see if changing that density has helped much, which it has. Now, you can also, if you want to see more in the viewport here, if you want to see like a higher concentration of what's going on, you can always come into you can see where my mohawk is chosen right here. But if you come to your fur feedback shape, you can raise your UV samples, and in this case I might go to 128, and I'll go to 128 there, and you can see where that sort of gives you a little bit more to look at in the viewport. So I'll hit command and left mouse click and kind of move around there, and there we go. That's kind of our mohawk. All right, so that's cool. Let's do something. Let's change this up a little bit and go to your choose tool, maybe just select that hair selection there. That's my mohawk right here. You'll see it in your attribute editor. And let's change the base color to something more like, well, let's do something kind of down here. We'll give it kind of a natural look. And let's make the tip color something, say, like up in this realm. Yeah, it might be a little too much. Okay, so there we go. I've got a base color and a tip color. And now let's do a quick render, and there we go. That's what we're seeing. Okay, so it still looks a little thick for what it is, and I don't really know if I want it to be that thick. So you can come down and you can always change your base width. Right now it's a pretty thick. It's at 0.50. I might want to put that to 0.08, for example, and a tip width of maybe 0.04. Okay, so I'll just bring those levels down quite a bit. And now if I take a render, I'll go ahead and save what I have there. We'll do another render, and you can see where it's sort of, kind of thinned it up a bit. All right, so I'll do a save there. So that's what we had before, that's what we have now. And you can see where, I may want to add a little bit more there. So if you come up into your density, and this is one thing you'll always want to be keeping an eye on, is your density. That sort of gives you the amount of fullness, in your hair there. So I'm going to go ahead and there we go. Okay, so we got one done. Let's create another one. Let's come in here and let's create a new fur description. So normally if you don't have your object selected that we're going to put a fur description on, what'll happen is you go to fur attach description and hit new, And you will get a warning down here saying select a Nurbs or polygon or subdivision surface to operate on. So let's just choose, make sure that we have our Nurbs sphere chosen there. So we can go to fur description, new, and we'll give it a new description. And you'll notice that it's on its old one, whatever you had selected last. You can see the new fur description here, but be sure that you're working on the new one, and it'll be called fur. It should be called fur description 1, and we'll click in there and give this a name. And in this case, we'll name this one, you know, we'll name top of head or something, top head bowl cut, or yeah, we'll make it top head and bowl cut. Maybe you had a haircut like that when you were a kid. Okay, anyway, we'll name it top head bowl cut. And what we want to do is just sort of make our map with 512. I usually make them a standard 512 to start out with. And you can always change these down the line, but you know, 512 there, 512 there, that's good. Let's do a quick render and see what it actually looks like. Okay, well, it's popping out from all over the place. And so what we want to do is we want to take this hair and sort of direct it up to the top of this you know, we want it up the top here and poking through. So let's maybe adjust the length first. I might want to make it, just give it a little bit more length. And let's see, I'll leave the roll there. Let's make this a little bit more scraggly. Let's add some scraggle to it. I like scraggle. We'll go with that. And what we'll want to do is sort of erase the rest of the hair in here. But we're going to do that by sort of attaching a ramp. All right? So let's make a ramp that we can work with for the shape of this hair. Real simple to do. So just make sure that you have your hair selection, your description, top head bowl cut selected, and we'll work with the baldness attribute again. And if we click on that, you know, right mouse click, come down, create new texture, and we'll do the same thing. We'll give it a 2D texture, and we'll call it a ramp. And we'll change that ramp up, the color right here down on the bottom to black, change the top to white, and we'll get rid of this center one. And we want to have pretty much an interpolation set at none, because we don't want to have any kind of, you know, variance. And let's move that down. And in this case, let's do this as a U ramp. Okay, we're just going to reverse the way that ramp sits on the surface. It's going to be kind of like that. So, you know, just sort of bring it down there in the middle to start with. If you look over in your hypershade, I'm going to go ahead and do my graph. I'm going to clear it. And you'll notice that in your textures here, we now have that first ramp that we created, and here is the second ramp right here. So let's attach this ramp to an actual material. We'll go into surface from your Maya, and let's just choose a Lambert. There's our Lambert. And let's grab this ramp 2, middle mouse click on top of it, and drag and drop it on top of your Lambert and attach it to the color channel. All right, so that's what we should have right now. So that's cool. And now we want to assign this ramp. We want to assign this ramp to this surface. So I'm just going to go ahead and activate the Nurbs sphere, come down, assign existing material, and go to that. It's a Lambert 3. Okay, so anything that's white here right now is going to have hair flying out. And I really want to adjust it so that I just have hair kind of coming out the top end right up here. So let's do that. Let's look inside of your hypershade. You can click on your ramp 2, and then we can adjust the values of that ramp. And let's kind of see if we can see them interactively as we adjust it. All right. So now you can see where we're controlling that ramp a little bit by just moving it up or down. And I kind of want the hair to just sort of be sprouting out the top of the head, kind of right there. So I think I'll stay with that. All right. Now, let's go back and select our sphere here. And we know we're on our bowl cut. let's go ahead and bake that baldness attribute. Now you'll notice in the drop down menu here you usually have a choice of what you're doing. So we're working with baldness right now, so we want to bake baldness, and I'm going to go ahead and hit bake. And as you can see, boom, there's our hair coming right out the top of the head. So that's kind of cool. I'll let's see, let's just motor around here to the front, and we'll sort of take a render on it and see what it looks like. All right, and that's kind of what we would expect to see. We've got like the mohawk in the back, and we've got this hair coming out the front, and you know, that's our default. We don't have any lights in here, so we're not seeing really the rest of this Nurbs sphere. So that's cool for the moment. Let's maybe take that and give it some color. Let's give this base color just something random. We'll go into the reddish colors there, and we'll give the tips maybe something like more of a very light green. I don't know. We'll just do it like that. And we'll take another, actually, let's do a quick render. And there it is, red and green. And we'll want to make the same kind of adjustments to this. We're going to want to make the adjustments in the density, of course. So let's just add a couple more zeros in the density up there. Global scale, you'll pretty much want to leave at 1. And let's actually see if we can give it a little bit more length. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to change this base width to our kind of a more better starting point, 0.08, and I'll give it the same of 0.04 right there. And I think I'll scraggle this up a bit. We'll give it some scraggle like that. And you know, you can always play around with your clumping and correlation of clumping and all that. You know, for the most part, I just kind of want to leave it there. And now let's take a quick render. I think I might switch it around here to kind of a side view now. Let's see what we get. And there it is. Okay, so now we have kind of two things going on here. We got two different colors of hair, and there it is. Now let's look at the let's look at opacity in the, let's see, tip opacity right here. You have a base opacity, but really tip opacity is going to sort of, it's going to give you a different look. Now you can see where it looks like that, but if you mess around with this opacity on the tip, I'll go ahead and just save that as an image, and we'll bring the tip opacity down quite a bit, and we'll do another render. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to keep that image. Now let's look at what happened there. There was what we had before, and by varying the opacity, that's what we have now. So it's a really good way to sort of, you know, control, just makes for a more natural look. So I like that, but let's just bring this, tip opacity up just a little bit more, and I'll do another quick render. All right, so we'll stay with that. Now let's put a beard on this guy. We're going to do the same thing. What we can do, though, because we don't need this ramp anymore, that'd be for my Lambert 3, I can go ahead and just click on this ramp and delete it, and away it goes. So, you know, you can see where your hair stayed there. We could also do the same thing for our hair description on, you know, on our mohawk right here. Let's see, I don't know if I do have a ramp attached to that one, and we could probably see it if I just come in here and let's move around to the back here. Well, we can't see it because we've already baked it in. So anyway, you don't need these ramps after you're done with them. So the textures that you create, like this was our first ramp, I can go ahead and delete that, and it's not going to make any difference. Okay, so now let's kind of put a beard on there. Let's go ahead and select this again, come down, and we're going to attach fur description, new, and there it is. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select our fur description, and we're going to give this the name of beard. All right, and there it is. Let's switch this up to a 512. So you get the idea. It's pretty easy to start working around with this. Now we're going to click on this baldness, and we're going to create new texture. And this time we're going to do a 2D texture. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get a ramp. We're going to take this bottom color down to black. We're going to take the top color up to white, and we're going to get rid of this middle node. We're going to switch our interpolation to none. And in this case, I'm going to probably want to stay with the V ramp, the vertical ramp, because it's going this way. So I'll stay there, and I think I'll just sort of move that like that for the moment. And I'm going to go ahead and select our Nurbs sphere and come down to existing material and assign it that Lambert 3. And, with all, hopefully it shows up. No? What did I do wrong? Oh, I know what I did. Let me click on here. I didn't assign the ramp. I'm going to show you what I did here. Because I played around with that ramp and everything, and I created it, but I forgot to attach it to the Lambert. So in this case, I want to make sure you click on your ramp, middle mouse, drag and drop it on the Lambert color, and there it is. So now we have to assign this Lambert. We have to assign that to our sphere here. So I'll go ahead and just grab my chooser, grab there, come down, assign existing material, and we got that Lambert 3 on there. Now, where is it showing up? Well, it's around back there. So, we really don't want it right there. Let's see if we can bring it around to the front. You'll choose it in the hypershade, grab that ramp node right there, and that should show up over here in your attribute editor. And we'll take a look at kind of what's happening here. Let's move these around a little bit and see if we can position that around. Sometimes it might not go in the right direction, and it may just sort of be random. We want this to be a little tiny sliver, so we want a little sliver of black, and that's not really giving us a little sliver, a little sliver of white. So let's bring that down here, and there it is. So if I come in here, I can see where the white is, and we kind of want that. So let's just go with it for the moment. And I'm going to go ahead and come back into my fur description for this. And we're going to bake that. All right. So I'm going to come over here, maybe choose my Lambert. Let's see. Let's go to our fur feedback. Now, this is another place where you can come in and choose your various feedbacks. You can see where the first one shows up under fur feedback, and it just basically is fur feedback, and then number 1 and number 3. So number 3, we named the beard. So if I clicked on that one, or the third one, although it says number 2, you can see where it's right there, which is really cool. All right. So now I'm back, and what I can do is bake that attribute onto there. But first, I may want to look at my length. I might want to bring my length up quite a bit, and we'll go with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit bake and see what happens. All right. So there it is, and I can kind of move that around. If I choose my rotation tool, I can move this now sort of around to the front where I wanted it. I'm going to hit Command on the keyboard, kind of come around here to the front, and then let up, and I'm going to bring that kind of out into the front there, and hit Command on the keyboard and my left mouse button, and now I can kind of see what's happening. And I think the length is too long, so we'll bring that length down a bit. And what you may want to do is, of course, add more density. I'm going to add a couple more points on density, 2 more zeros, and we'll do a quick render. And what we'll want to do is, let's do a render, see what shows up. You can see we want to get rid of a whole bunch of this stuff, so that's real easy to do. Just go ahead and make sure that you've checked, you've got your fur description for the beard. Come up into your fur, Paint Attributes tool, click on that. You should get your tool settings, and you should get your little menu here. And we're working with baldness, and we need to change this fur description up. And you always have to be aware of this. This fur description is always going to be in there, and you always have to come in and set what you want to work on. In this case, I want to work on the beard. Okay, so there it is. Now that I have that chosen, I can come over here into my tool settings, and I kind of want to paint out. You should get a radius on your brush like that, and it's controlled through right here. I want to paint out everything on the top here and sort of make more like a beard-like thing on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave my brush where it's at. And what I want to do is I want to paint a negative value over the white area where, you know, my fur is showing up. So I'm going to leave it set to that and replace. This is a replace operation. We want to replace white, the white with black. All right. So I'm going to get rid of these for a second. Come over here, and I want to paint. And as I paint over this surface, you'll notice that these go away. You know, just depending on, well, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, you can see what's happening right now. I am painting on this Nurbs sphere, but I don't have my actual beard chosen up here. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have this chosen, and you may want to look over here in your paint for attributes. Make sure your beard is chosen, and that you are painting. The value I'm painting in is a 0 right now. So let's take a look at that and see what's happening. See if there's anything different going on here. No? All right, well, you get the idea. Let's see. Let's go with an additive. Let's see if we can add fur onto here. Sometimes when you're doing things with fur, you know, you'll get weird things happening. So I'm gonna hit Command, and you know, that's actually adding a value on, but we don't want to do that. We want to actually try and get rid of some of this fur. So I don't know what's happening. Let's start again. We'll figure this out. All right. So let's come back to the start. Let's grab our description there. And a lot of times this will happen all the time. You'll be working with fur and something will go wrong, and you need to kind of isolate what's going on. And you know, in this case, I think it was because we didn't bake this originally. So let's just try baking this on again. And I'm going to hit bake and see what happens. Okay, well, that changed a little bit for the beard here, but let's go back in and call up our paint attributes fur tool again. And in this case, let's make sure that we have switched our fur description on baldness over to the beard. Okay, and we want to be painting a negative value and replacing it. So that's cool. I mean, technically we should be able to paint over this. I'm going to do a command there. All right. I should technically be able to sort of, you know, paint over this, but I'm not. I'm not being able to paint over this right now. So call this one a fail. So in this case, I might want to just, instead of trying to figure it all out and make it work, I might want to come onto this fur description and select the beard there and just hit delete. I might just want to get rid of it and start over. Okay. So anyway, there you go. That's kind of how you do that. And you know, if I want to come over here, I can get rid of my let's get rid of that ramp, see what happens. All right, so there you go. That's how you do it. That's kind of one method of playing around with, you know, adding hair. Now, of course, you have your length attributes and some other things to deal with there, but way too much to get into this tutorial right now. So hope you had fun with this one and just sort of play around with this because it's, you know, kind of a basic concept. All right, so okay, well, have fun, create some hairy creatures and stuff, and you know, be a good person, because if the world wasn't full of good people, then it would totally suck. All right, so read a book too. All right, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.